The Constitution of Pakistan 1973, total marks 10. Topic number 0 to Article 50 to Article 89 Introduction Video 3A. A. Introduction Summary of Topic. The Parliament of Pakistan, known as the Majlis-e-Shura, is the highest legislative body in the country, consisting of two houses, the National Assembly and the Senate. The National Assembly. The National Assembly is one of the two houses of the Pakistani Parliament. It consists of 336 seats, including seats reserved for women and non-Muslims. To be eligible to vote in the National Assembly elections, one must be a Pakistani citizen, at least 18 years old, have their name on the electoral roll, and be declared mentally sound by a competent court. The distribution of seats in the National Assembly is based on the population of provinces and the federal capital. Each province and the federal capital have a specific number of general and women seats allocated to them. Additionally, there are 10 seats reserved for non-Muslims. The allocation of seats is determined by the population data from the last preceding census, with provisional results used for specific elections. Elections to the National Assembly are conducted through direct and free votes in single-member territorial constituencies for general seats. Women and non-Muslims are elected through proportional representation systems based on the total number of general seats secured by each political party. Duration of the National Assembly. The National Assembly's term is 5 years from its first meeting, unless dissolved earlier. If the Assembly is dissolved, elections are held to form a new one. Speaker and Deputy Speaker. After a general election, the National Assembly elects a Speaker and Deputy Speaker from its members. In the Speaker's absence, the Deputy Speaker presides over meetings, and a temporary presiding member is chosen when both are absent. The Speaker or Deputy Speaker can resign or be removed by a resolution of the Assembly. Summoning and prorogation. The President can summon or prorogue either House of Parliament. The National Assembly must have at least 3 sessions each year, with no more than 120 days between the last sitting of one session and the first sitting of the next. It must meet for at least 30 working days each year. Voting and quorum. Decisions in the National Assembly are made by a majority of members present and voting. The person presiding doesn't vote except in the case of a tie. If less than 1/4 of the total membership is present during a sitting, the presiding member can adjourn the Assembly or suspend the meeting. Address by the President. The President can address either House or both Houses together. The President can also send messages to Parliament, and he must address both Houses at the beginning of each session to inform them of the reasons for their summons. Right to speak. The Prime Minister, Federal Ministers, Ministers of State, and the Attorney General can speak and participate in Parliament's proceedings but cannot vote. Dissolution of the National Assembly. The President can dissolve the National Assembly on the advice of the Prime Minister, and it automatically dissolves if not advised otherwise. In certain circumstances, such as a vote of no confidence, the President may dissolve it at his discretion. The Senate. The Senate is the second house of the Parliament, consisting of 96 members. Senators are elected by the provincial assemblies, with seats reserved for women, technocrats, and non-Muslims. The Senate's term is 6 years, with staggered retirements of members. Chairman and Deputy Chairman. The Senate elects a chairman and deputy chairman from its members, with a term of 3 years. The Constitution of Pakistan is the supreme legal document that defines the structure, functions, and procedures of the government. Within the Constitution, various articles outline the provisions, qualifications, and disqualifications for members of the Parliament, rules of procedure, and privileges of its members. This essay will delve into the key articles related to the Parliament in the Constitution of Pakistan, shedding light on their significance and implications. Provisions relating to Senate. Article 61 of the Constitution deals with provisions relating to the Senate, the upper house of the Parliament. It specifies that certain clauses and articles that apply to the National Assembly, the lower house, shall also apply to the Senate. This includes references to the Senate chairman and deputy chairman instead of the National Assembly Speaker and deputy speaker. Additionally, this article includes an adjustment to the numerical representation in one of its clauses. Qualifications for membership of Parliament. Article 62 outlines the qualifications required for an individual to be elected or chosen as a member of the Parliament. These qualifications encompass citizenship, minimum age requirements for the National Assembly and Senate, good character, knowledge of Islamic teachings, and adherence to Islamic practices, among others. The article also disqualifies individuals who have worked against the integrity of Pakistan or opposed the ideology of Pakistan. Disqualifications for membership of Parliament. Article 63 delves into the disqualifications that can lead to the removal of a member of Parliament. These disqualifications include unsound mind, insolvency, loss of citizenship, holding an office of profit, involvement in statutory bodies or government-controlled bodies, convictions, dismissal from government service, and more. These provisions ensure that individuals with certain backgrounds or actions are barred from serving in Parliament. Disqualification on grounds of defection. Article 63 introduces disqualification on grounds of defection. It deals with members of a political party who resign from their party, vote against party directions on critical matters, or join another party. This article aims to maintain party discipline and loyalty among members of Parliament and provides a mechanism for disqualification in such cases. Vacation of seats. Article 64 specifies the conditions under which a member of Parliament can resign, which is done by submitting a written resignation to the Speaker or Chairman. It also allows a House to declare a member's seat vacant if they remain absent for an extended period without leave. Oath of members. Article 65 mandates that a member elected to a House must take an oath before sitting or voting in Parliament. The oath is outlined in the third schedule of the Constitution. Privileges of members. Article 66 grants certain privileges to members of Parliament, including freedom of speech within Parliament without fear of legal repercussions for their statements or votes. However, these privileges are subject to the Constitution and can be defined further by law. Rules of procedure. Article 67 allows each House of Parliament to make rules for regulating its procedures and conduct of business. These rules help ensure the orderly functioning of Parliament. Restrictions on discussion. Article 68 imposes restrictions on discussions in Parliament, prohibiting discussions about the conduct of judges of the Supreme Court or High Courts in the discharge of their duties. Courts not to inquire into proceedings. Article 69 establishes that the validity of parliamentary proceedings cannot be challenged on procedural irregularities. It also ensures that officers or members responsible for maintaining order in Parliament are not subject to the jurisdiction of external courts for their actions. Pakistan, a federal parliamentary republic, follows a specific set of legislative procedures outlined in its constitution. These procedures dictate how bills are introduced, passed, and ultimately become law. In this essay, we will delve into the legislative processes in Pakistan, focusing on the introduction and passing of bills, the role of money bills, and the broader financial matters associated with the federal government. Origination and passing of bills. Article 70 of the Pakistani Constitution outlines the process of introducing and passing bills. Bills related to matters within the federal legislative list can originate in either the National Assembly or the Senate. If a bill is passed by the house in which it originated without any amendments, it is transmitted to the other house for approval. Once both houses pass the bill without any amendments, it is presented to the President for assent. However, if one house passes the bill with amendments, it is sent back to the house of origin. If the originating house accepts the amendments, the bill proceeds to the President for assent. If not, and if the bill is rejected or not passed within 90 days, it is considered in a joint sitting of both houses. If the majority of members present and voting approve it, the bill is presented to the President for assent. Procedure at joint sittings. Article 72 outlines the procedure for joint sittings. The President, after consulting with the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Chairman, may establish rules for joint sittings. During a joint sitting, the Speaker of the National Assembly or a designated person presides. Decisions are made by a majority vote of members present and voting. Money bills. Article 73 addresses money bills, which must originate in the National Assembly. The Senate can make recommendations within 14 days of receiving a money bill. The National Assembly considers these recommendations, and if accepted, the bill is presented to the President for assent. Money bills primarily deal with matters related to taxation, borrowing, the Federal Consolidated Fund, and financial obligations of the federal government. The Speaker of the National Assembly has the authority to decide whether a bill is a money bill. Bills imposing fines, penalties, or local taxes are not automatically considered money bills. Federal government's consent. Article 74 stipulates that bills or amendments involving expenditures from the Federal Consolidated Fund, withdrawals from the public account, or affecting the currency or State Bank of Pakistan require the consent of the federal government to be introduced in Parliament. President's assent to bills. Article 75 outlines the process of the President's assent to bills. The President must assent to a bill or return it to Parliament with recommendations within 10 days. If the bill is passed again by Parliament, it becomes law. If the President fails to act within 10 days, the bill is automatically considered assented. Lapse of bills. Article 76 explains that bills pending in either house do not lapse due to prorogation, but bills pending in the National Assembly or Senate will lapse upon the National Assembly's dissolution. Taxation. Article 77 specifies that no tax can be levied for federal purposes without the authority of Parliament. Federal Consolidated Fund and Public Account. Article 78 establishes the Federal Consolidated Fund for federal government revenues and the public account for other funds received by or on behalf of the federal government. Custody and regulation. Article 79 empowers Parliament to regulate the custody and management of these funds. Annual budget statement. Article 80 mandates the presentation of an annual budget statement detailing estimated receipts and expenditures. Expenditure charged. Article 81 lists expenditures charged upon the Federal Consolidated Fund, including remuneration for key officials, debt charges, and more. Budgetary procedures. Article 82 outlines the procedure for discussing and approving budgetary matters. The legislative framework in Pakistan is a cornerstone of its democratic governance. This essay continues our exploration of the constitutional provisions governing financial matters, supplementary grants, and the unique power of the President to promulgate ordinances. These aspects of Pakistan's legislative process play a vital role in shaping the country's financial and legislative landscape. Authentication of expenditure schedule. Article 83 of the Pakistani Constitution delineates the crucial role of the Prime Minister in authorizing and authenticating expenditure schedules. The Prime Minister is responsible for signing a schedule that includes grants made or deemed to have been made by the National Assembly under Article 82 and the various sums required to meet expenditures charged upon the Federal Consolidated Fund. This schedule is presented to the National Assembly, but it is not subject to discussion or a vote. The aim is to ensure that expenditures are duly authorized and transparently laid out for parliamentary oversight. Supplementary and excess grants. Article 84 provides a mechanism for addressing financial contingencies that may arise during a fiscal year. If it is found that the authorized expenditure for a specific service is insufficient, or if there is a need for expenditure on a new service not included in the annual budget statement, the federal government can authorize such expenditure from the Federal Consolidated Fund. This applies whether the expenditure is constitutionally charged upon the fund or not. A supplementary budget statement or an excess budget statement is then presented to the National Assembly following the procedural framework established in Articles 80-83. This process ensures that the government can respond to financial exigencies while maintaining parliamentary oversight. Votes on account. Article 85 grants the National Assembly the power to make grants in advance for a portion of any financial year, not exceeding 4 months. This is a practical measure to ensure the government can continue functioning even if the full budgetary process has not been completed. Such votes on account are subject to the procedures outlined in Article 82 for the voting of grants and the authentication of expenditure schedules as specified in Article 83. Expenditure during dissolution. Article 86 offers a unique provision that empowers the federal government to authorize expenditure from the Federal Consolidated Fund when the National Assembly stands dissolved. In such circumstances, the government can authorize spending for up to 4 months in a financial year, pending the completion of the full budgetary process. This provision ensures the continuity of government functions even in the absence of an active National Assembly. Secretariats of Majlis-e-Shura, Parliament. Article 87 pertains to the establishment of separate secretariats for each House of Parliament while allowing for the creation of common posts. The regulation of the recruitment and conditions of service for personnel in these secretariats is either governed by laws passed by Parliament or, in the absence of such laws, by rules approved by the Speaker or Chairman with the President's consent. This ensures that both Houses of Parliament can operate efficiently. Finance Committees. Article 88 establishes finance committees to control the expenditure of the National Assembly and the Senate within authorized appropriations. These committees consist of key officials, including the Speaker or Chairman, the Minister of Finance, and other members elected by the respective House. The finance committees have the authority to make rules for their procedures, further enhancing the oversight and management of financial matters in Parliament. Power of President to promulgate ordinances. Article 89 outlines the President's unique power to promulgate ordinances when neither the Senate nor the National Assembly is in session. These ordinances carry the same force as Acts of Parliament but are subject to specific restrictions and time frames. Ordinances dealing with specific matters specified in Article 73(2) must be laid before the National Assembly and will stand repealed after 120 days if not approved by the Assembly. Ordinances not covering these matters must be laid before both houses and will face a similar timeline for repeal if not approved. However, the Assembly or a House can extend the life of an ordinance once for another 120 days.